Autumn, 1941. The wind cuts through the endless plains west of Moscow, carrying the chill of early snow and the echo of engines struggling in frozen mud. Along a road choked with columns of men and machines, Field Marshal Fedor von Bock studies a map lit by a lantern's weak glow. His eyes trace the thin red line moving eastward toward the Soviet capital. For a brief moment in history, it seemed as though the fate of nations rested in his hands. The city that had withstood Napoleon now stood before him, within reach yet beyond grasp. His campaign would come closer than any other to capturing Moscow, and in doing so, expose the limits of both strategy and willpower. If you are drawn to the stories where ambition, discipline, and destiny intertwine, stay with us. This is the story of a commander shaped by tradition, caught in a war that consumed the old order he embodied. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten corners of history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Many more remarkable stories from the past are yet to come. Fedor von Bock was born on December 3, 1880, in Kustrin, a fortress town in the Kingdom of Prussia. His upbringing was steeped in the military spirit of his time, loyalty, precision, and an unbending sense of duty. His father was a general. His family name carried weight in the officer corps. From childhood, von Bock absorbed the rituals of discipline, the sound of boots on gravel, the measured cadence of parade drills, the belief that service to the state stood above all. By the dawn of the 20th century, he entered the Prussian Cadet Corps and later joined the Imperial German Army as a young officer. When the First World War erupted in 1914, von Bock served as a staff officer on the Western Front. He was not a commander of glory-seeking charges, but a man of calculation and maps, one who understood that modern war was as much about coordination as courage. The war taught him the unforgiving truth that even brilliance could not overcome attrition and chaos. After Germany's defeat in 1918, von Bock stayed in uniform. The Reichswehr of the Weimar era was small, tightly controlled, and politically cautious. Promotion was slow, but von Bock's meticulousness and reliability ensured his rise. He viewed politics as a distraction from the soldier's task, and maintained a careful distance from ideological movements. His creed was simple: duty, obedience, and order. When Adolf Hitler rose to power in 1933, von Bock, like many of his generation, accepted the regime's rearmament policies as a restoration of national pride. Yet he remained a traditionalist, suspicious of political interference in military affairs. To him, professionalism was sacred, even as the world around him shifted toward fanaticism. In September 1939, von Bock commanded Army Group North during the invasion of Poland. His forces advanced rapidly toward Warsaw, demonstrating the effectiveness of the new style of warfare: concentrated mobility and air support. The campaign was brutal but brief, and von Bock's coordination was praised within the high command. His reputation for calm efficiency grew. The following year, during the invasion of France, he led Army Group B through the Netherlands and Belgium. His formations helped encircle the Allied armies at Dunkirk. Though other generals received more fame, von Bock's methodical execution reflected the Prussian model of command: precise, unemotional, and relentless. His soldiers respected him as strict but fair. His peers considered him a man of exceptional self-control. By 1941, he was one of Germany's most senior field marshals, chosen to command Heeresgruppe Mitte, Army Group Center, for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. It was the largest military campaign ever attempted. 3 million men, thousands of tanks and aircraft, and a belief that the Soviet state would collapse in months. Von Bock's task was the most ambitious of all. Drive through Belarus, capture Smolensk, and then advance on Moscow. Von Bock was a commander of calculation, not impulse. He believed that seizing Moscow quickly could end the campaign before winter. But strategic debates at the top intervened. Hitler diverted forces south toward Ukraine and north toward Leningrad, insisting that resources and raw materials mattered more than symbolic victories. Von Bock protested, warning that each delay weakened the central push. His appeals went unheeded. Through August and September 1941, his armies waited, regrouped, and fought local battles instead of striking directly east. When the offensive toward Moscow, Operation Typhoon, finally began in late September, the weather was already turning. The German advance was still formidable. Vyazma and Bryansk fell, and hundreds of thousands of Soviet troops were encircled. Newspapers across Europe proclaimed the imminent fall of Moscow. Von Bock, meticulous as ever, pressed his men forward through the worsening mud. But Ottoman Russia is not kind to mechanized war. Roads dissolved, fuel trucks bogged down, and tanks became immobile hulks in seas of clay. Supplies failed to reach the front. Soldiers marched on foot, short of food, short of winter clothing. The temperature dropped, and snow arrived early. Still, von Bock refused to retreat. He believed that persistence, organization, and discipline could overcome nature itself, a belief that history would soon test to destruction. In early December 1941, the temperature plunged below -30 degrees Celsius. Engines froze, weapons jammed, and soldiers collapsed in the snow. Von Bock's army, exhausted after 6 months of constant advance, faced a massive Soviet counterattack. The Red Army, reinforced and newly equipped for winter, struck along the entire front. German divisions, unprepared for the cold, reeled backward. Von Bock urged headquarters to allow tactical withdrawals to stabilize the line. Hitler, now personally directing operations, forbade any retreat. The clash of military professionalism and ideological will reached its peak. Von Bock's discipline could not mask his frustration. He saw logic giving way to command decrees. As his armies fell back under relentless pressure, his reputation for obedience began to work against him. He carried out impossible orders because that was what his code demanded. He would return briefly to command in 1942 during the campaigns in the South, but his influence had waned. Disillusioned and sidelined, he retired from active service the following year. Unlike some of his peers, he was not implicated in conspiracies against the regime. His loyalty remained to the army, not to politics, a distinction that ultimately offered neither protection nor purpose. In May 1945, as the war reached its final collapse, Fedor von Bock was traveling westward with his family, attempting to avoid advancing Soviet forces. On May 4th, his car was struck by an Allied aircraft near Lenzon in Schleswig-Holstein. He died that same day, one of the last field marshals of a vanished empire. Von Bock's life represents the paradox of the professional soldier in an age of ideological war. He was neither a visionary nor a fanatic, rather a man who believed that discipline and structure could outlast the tides of politics. Yet history proved otherwise. His campaigns displayed technical mastery, but also revealed the limits of obedience when detached from broader judgment. The drive toward Moscow remains one of the defining episodes of the Second World War, a moment when victory appeared within reach, only to dissolve through overconfidence, weather, and the vastness of the Russian land. Standing on the plains outside Moscow today, one can imagine the silence that followed the retreat, the frozen remains of ambitions buried under snow. The story of von Bock is not about glory or guilt. It is about the fragility of human plans when confronted by forces larger than intent. Geography, climate, and the unyielding complexity of war. History does not move in straight lines. The march that once seemed unstoppable ended in stillness, and perhaps that is the lasting lesson. Even the most disciplined structures can crumble when they mistake endurance for inevitability. If you found this story compelling, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next journey into the pages of history.